What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what's moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Lucid is up 1.3%, 2070 for the low, 2148 the high. So it is starting to build up some pretty good momentum, bouncing off of the recent lows. And those lows were kind of created because of fear about the H-1 visa, potential shutdown in the foreseeable future, which in my opinion, I think is a little bit more premature rather than anything, but nonetheless, market is starting to move up a little bit. And for volume, very low. So 2.3 million shares being traded, 10.5 is the average. No official news from Lucid, no SEC filings or anything like that. No official macro data points either. So a lot of Fed speakers kind of later in the morning and as well the afternoon. So that could potentially move the market. One thing that did come out over the weekend that I wanted to share with you was this right here. So you can kind of see how on Lucid's website there was various gravities available, and so those in general were kind of created. Most likely whoever did the actual order canceled, and so this is how you kind of get these ones that are listed. Just says available in 2 weeks. So at the end of the day, I think that in the past I would have correlated this with lack of demand or some other potential issue, but in almost 24 hours you do have this. So now there is absolutely no vehicles available of the Gravity. So in reality, yes, there might have been some potential issues, some cancellations or whatever else, but that got bought up very fast. So there is a good amount of demand for the Gravity. So I see that as relatively optimistic, if you ask me. As far as shorts, they are returning about 80,000 shares today. So they're not really that active, but 31.17% of the free float's being shorted. So even based on my weekend video, I kind of talked about this a little bit. Just the fact that shorts are very, very overextended. And I think it is kind of long past due that they just get the F out, which in general would really push Lucid higher on a technical standpoint. Looking at the options, 460,000 in calls, 1.4 million in puts, and then 75% so far of all the options being done are neutral in nature. And most of that is coming from this. So between 915 and 920, there was 1.3 million in premiums. And the reason why it's neutral is because of the large amount, and that was done at one time. So it eats up the bid and the ask, and of course nobody can really tell exactly what it is. But if we kind of pop this open, look at the premiums, it looks like it was 2 transactions, one for 897,000, a $21 put for November 21st. And so possibly that could be correlated with Lucid's earnings, upcoming earnings. And then as well, looks like there was a $18 put as well, and that one had 438,000 in premiums. So this is why you can kind of see it was and is neutral, because couldn't really tell what it was based on, again, eating up the bid and the ask. And based on the timestamp, you can kind of see as well, it was the same entity. So most likely it was a multi-leg transaction, and probably I would assume that they did sell a $21 put and then they bought a $18 put. So they are, for the most part, assuming it's going to be within a set range going into the upcoming earnings. So again, something to keep in mind. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be above roughly $22 for this week. So pretty good stuff. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub kind of $20. So again, you kind of have that spectrum. And one thing that I've really mentioned over the last couple of videos is that you are having more and more willing buyers, and potentially, given the circumstances, if it's able to get above these sellers right here, then in theory, we could be testing that 50-day moving average. And historically, that is a very big deal for Lucid. So on a technical standpoint, we are seeing pretty good momentum, so that's always a good thing. A little bit high for the algorithmic trading on a side note, and you can see that based on the flow right here. But even popping over to the news, there really hasn't been all that much. So again, it's just been largely piggybacking off the broader market, but then again, it's been kind of like that for a while. These are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. So first thing, you had that string of selling. So 4 transactions, 1.2 million, 128,000, 353,000, and then 1.09. Aside from that, it's all been buying, and one big one as well, 1.1 million. As far as Darkpool, these are some of the transactions. Darkpool is often enough used by shorts as well as hedge funds, and the fact that shorts aren't really doing that much, you can kind of attribute the rest to hedge funds. So goes to show that big money is buying up Lucid. There hasn't been any new analyst ratings. I think it's kind of long past due for a couple to come out, but last one was about 2 weeks ago, and that was $20 and $21. So most likely in the next little bit, you should see more, possibly, or it might be just because of Lucid's upcoming Q3 numbers. So that should be probably the second week of October, possibly even the third. But last time they did disclose it, they actually moved it up. So I think they are getting a little bit more confident. So we'll have to wait and see, but most likely seeing just this inventory kind of go away, that's a good sign that their numbers might be fairly high. Again, that's kind of reading between the lines, but a couple of key points with it right now at 21.48. It is now trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 21.45 is going to be that key support. You really want to watch for Lucid to hold. If not, then you could see a little bit more consolidation, but in my opinion, there's a lot of good momentum behind the scenes with Lucid. So 21.45 will be a good kind of support and key pivot, and then 23.42. And if it does hit that, that means it'll be above that 50-day moving average, and historically that usually results in like a 30% swing. That's been kind of pre-reverse stock split. I don't know if that's that same kind of momentum behind that is going to still hold up. Possibly though, you could at least see a bare minimum of 15 to 20%. So again, that could really put it between that possibly R3 to R2 or roughly around this R2 range. So let me know your thoughts on Lucid. On a technical standpoint, things are looking pretty good. You have a lot of kind of good signs that there is a lot of good demand. So yeah, let me know your general thoughts on Lucid. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With that said, appreciate all of you watching.